So, have you ever sold your soul to the devil? No, this is not a religious talk, but it's an interesting saying. Selling yourself to the devil, meaning do you make compromises that aren't the greatest, and from a health perspective, not good for your health. Something in the short term is taking priority, and sometimes your health is going to be harmed because of it. We always have to weigh the good and the bad when we're making decisions. From a health perspective, I'd like you to have a clear-headed brain. You can't make good decisions if you're under stress, when the blood flow is prevented from reaching your frontal brain because blood flow is going everywhere else when you are in that fight or flight response. So you're always told, take your time making a decision, don't do things rashly, don't be impulsive, and that's good advice. But we always have to weigh the good and the bad. There's short-term compromise, and there's usually long-term consequences. Hopefully the consequences are not bad consequences. So we all do things where we sell our soul to the devil, and sometimes we have a chance to do better. We can rectify it, but we always have these regrets, and we don't need them in the back of our head either, giving us additional stress because we made bad decisions earlier in life. We can always refresh our brain and overcome. In my mental health job, I worked with a psychiatrist. He was a lot older. In fact, he was from Austria, and he was a student of one of Freud's proteges. Pretty interesting line of succession there. And he was an interesting guy. So I think he was nearing retirement age, and so I don't know if that impacted anything in his life. I'm just throwing it out there now that I'm thinking back. But we were talking one day, and he said, and I'll add to that, I was thinking about changing my job. So I think he knew about that. And he said to me that he didn't believe in medicine for mental illness. And he just said that. I don't believe in drugs. So here's a learned man, psychiatrist for probably decades. So he's seen a lot of people, and he's experienced the world. And I said, well, why do you write these prescriptions? And he says, because that's what people want. Let that sink in. A lot of people want different things, and some things will go against your beliefs. He decided he would write the prescriptions and help people in a way, maybe, that gave him time to be in front of them so he could give them his wisdom, teach them from his vast experience. That was the way to have people with him, the audience. He got a hold of people. I didn't talk about it much further with him, but it struck me as interesting because we've all been there and we've all done that. Around the same time, I also was having some personal issues of my own, part of the reason why I was looking at changing my career and looking into chiropractic. Things just happen all at once. When it rains, it pours, right? So I was in a little bit of a situational depression, personal crisis, and one of the nurses said to me, why don't you take some of the free samples in our locked drawer over there? We had a lot of pharmaceutical reps who gave us free stuff. In fact, I helped people get a lot of free medications directly from the pharmaceutical. I would write up a history on somebody if they met the financial criteria, and I would state my case and say this person really needs the help. And this was when I was embroiled in the mental health profession, and medications were there. This is before I left and went on to choose a natural health profession that was free of drugs. But that was where I was back then. So of course, it was offered to me. You're not doing too well right now. You want to take some of the drugs that we have. And one of them offered to me was Ativan. I distinctly remember that. And I said, no, thank you. I need to feel this. 100%, so I can learn from it. I don't think I said it that directly to the person. I just said no thanks. But you do need to feel things in order to get the full perspective. I didn't want to cloud my brain with something that would make me sleepy. I didn't want a phony happiness. So I don't know if that happens, guys. I've never taken these medications, so I don't know. No, you can do the same thing with an alcoholic beverage, I suppose, for a temporary buzz. But I said to myself, that's not the way I want to go through life. Experience matters. Experience helps you to do better later on in life. So I didn't want to be in a profession where I didn't even want to take what I was offering. So for me, there was a compromise there. There was a big decision. So have you ever sold your soul to the devil in a similar way? How about tolerating relationships? Blood is thicker than water, so they say, and sometimes you don't have the best relationships with your own relatives. Sometimes you just have to let them go or totally cut them off, and it's painful because everybody wants to have good feelings about their family. They want to have good feelings about their upbringing, and sometimes you have to accept things because you can't control other people. They make their own decisions too, just like you. So we have to do that without hindering our brain, without making ourselves ill with, with being let down all the time. Some people stay in an unhealthy job environment, and it's not always the job duties. So, some people have very physical jobs that are hard on their joints, but I'm talking about the relationships within the work environment where you feel unappreciated for your efforts and your talents are not appreciated, or a boss just doesn't get you. They have their own boss, and so they just lose touch with where everything is in the area they're managing. And a lot of people put up with that because they need the financial paycheck, they need the insurance. So they compromise with themselves and say, I'm going to do this even though I don't like it. And sometimes it's a grown-up decision. Yes, we do make these choices. I want to help people make choices that don't put more stress on their brain. Some people know how to separate the negativity and keep a distance from it. So more power to them. That's wonderful. And I think we all can probably do more of that. Some people accept others the way they are, so they don't put demands on other people or have expectations that they know will never be met. And there's a healthy way to deal with that, and that's a good thing too. People do know how to interact in ways that are neutral, so they don't have bad outcomes. That's a talent, and so good for them. And as long as we can replenish our brain and keep our brain healthy, because stress is with us every day, but we have to have a plan in place to counteract that. John McCain comes to mind when you think about him as a prisoner of war all those years, and he stood by his convictions despite pain and injury and torture. He stuck it out. One, he had no choice, but two, he kept himself going. Internally, in his mind, he kept himself going. God bless him. Most of us don't have that kind of stress, but we can learn from him and really have that strong conviction that helps us. Some people are in a temporary job for a stepping stone. They know, well, this may only be a few months or a few years. It's going to help me get where I'm going. You know, we all worked those scummy jobs in college that we didn't like, but we didn't have enough experience, we didn't have enough knowledge, and it was a good paycheck to get us through while we finished college or built better experiences so we could go on and do something else. So we can do things temporarily as long as we're replenishing our reserve and we're not getting exhausted and running ourselves down where we're compromising our health. Some people have additional creative outlets on the side around them. They have hobbies, so they have a balance, so they can maintain and stay in a job that may not be their best, their most favorite thing to do. So we've all made these decisions in our lives. And are your non-negotiables helping you or hurting you? We always have some things we know we just aren't going to do. And I have my own non-negotiables that I stick with in order to protect my health. So we're constantly weighing the pros and cons. So what does this have to do with brain health? All this talk about your job and your relationships. Well, it impacts how you talk to your brain. Part of the Brain First Always program, the 3 doorways, if you remember me mentioning that, you have to move your brain, feed your brain, and talk to your brain. And your exposures, your mental exposures, your stresses, they impact your brain health. And they turn on cortisol. Most people understand the cortisol hormone, which will change the biochemistry of your body if you're under stress for a long time. It should be short term. It should go up and down, and you should be replenishing your body's reserves. But when you're in that fight or flight, if you're in long-term stress, cortisol can get burned out. But high cortisol impacts your insulin, it impacts your inflammation, it impacts your weight, you gain more weight, so there's a domino effect where you have low energy, you're not thinking clearly, you're not sleeping well. So all this just compounds itself in not a nice way for your brain. And that's why I talk about the STAR session, where you have a longer time during the adjustment to really relax, and we incorporate your senses in order to retrain your brain and get that extra profound boost from the chiropractic adjustment. And if you have my map, my BFA map, Brain First Always, if you're on a health journey, of course you take a map. And on that map, I have a list of my favorite books to help you handle the stress response. I've got 4 great books to read. They're on that map. They're listed there. But I want to help people prioritize their life-sustaining habits, their life-sustaining activities, so they can get through and do the things they need to do, still find enjoyment, still protect their health, and be that ripple effect to everybody else, because we need each other. We need you to be healthy, and it starts with the master system, our brain, our spinal cord, the nervous system. So, let's dive in to a better future with a better brain. Learn how to move, feed, and talk to your brain. How do we do that? You visit the office. You read my blog. It's called createpurpose.com. Watch that orientation video. Start a conversation in the comments section below of this video. Check out the other episodes. Hit the subscribe button and hit that bell for the notifications. Look for the next episode. So be a brain snob and be a positive ripple effect in your community. Thanks for watching.